implementation, but it's also an investment over a period. And is that something that you see Korea having really? Is it giving itself a chance for a sustained success?
Yes, it's a very good question. I think that the routes that Korea has chosen to go down, First Nation branding, through the Presidential Council Nation branding, has got the great strength that the President himself is firmly committed to it, and therefore he's banging their heads together and making people do something. The obvious counterpoint to that is when the President changes, what will happen? That Presidential Council will probably be disbanded. Because that is the pattern of the nation branding things. If they are, as they almost all are, if they're tightly linked to the existing administration, as soon as there's a change of administration, the incoming administration throws out all the campaigns. Well, one example, Germany has taken an approach to try and overcome that problem. They've had the kind of land of dreams, a creative approach, and they've set up a unit that's kind of semi-autonomous, so it's kind of linked to the public sector, but not totally controlled by it. And the intention there is, if there is a change, I mean there hasn't been a change of regime yet in Germany, but the intention is, when there is a change of regime, that unit can continue and provide the continuity that is so often lacking. But the moment the truth will happen when that change of administration occurs, then we'll find out if they do really can exist with a different administration.
Let's take to first Nick and then.
Nick Hempstead from the Heritage Foundation. A question about the treating foreigners and multicultural families better. You have the Heinz Ward factor, and then that story got raised again when President Obama came to Korea. How much, when the countries do the nation branding, how much is there a kind of a pushing of an identity that they want to project, which I kind of see the multicultural part of South Korea doing? It's not necessarily something that they already have and just people just don't know about it. Something that's kind of up and coming in Korea as far as the multicultural families go versus so nation branding kind of pushing an identity on the country that wants to go forward in the identity they want to have versus just here's what we have, so this is only what we have to work with.
One more question.
Okay, so I have one short comment and question regarding the organization of President Council of Nation brand. Nation brand, I think, in addition to the 47 members, after July, they so if I'm one of them. One question is I don't have to your view regarding the Korea nation strategy. Is there any maybe issues or maybe goals to be added if you want to apply? You mentioned to this can.
Yeah. To take the second question first, I think it would be interesting and useful if the Korean Foreign Ministry took a more active participation in the strategy. I mean, they are part of it, but in many respects, you could argue they should be leading it, which they're not. So that there's probably quite a lot of potential for more involvement there. But again, this is an issue that all countries are just recently considering. What is the role of an ambassador? What is the role of the embassy? What exactly do such institutions exist for? And there's huge inconsistency between different countries. So some countries train their diplomats in public diplomacy. That's a very small number of countries. Other countries have never heard of public diplomacy. And I've done some interviews at embassies where I've had to explain what public diplomacy is to a diplomat. That's not the case of Korea. I mean, it's quite highly evolved in that respect. The other question about multicultural identity and so on, this is a great challenge for countries that are multicultural. How can you possibly create a coherent image or message when you've got a diverse multicultural society. My view is that this is something that really has to be decided domestically and not kind of imposed by foreign observers such as myself. I think have to decide themselves what it is they want to project. I was talking to someone at a recent conference and from an African country, and this person was quite offended because this particular country has between 30 and 40 different tribes, but within that country's nation branding, the national costume was just from one tribe, the dominant tribe, and therefore there was a huge amount of bad feeling from all the other elements of that culture that felt that they were being excluded. But it's extremely complex and controversial, and I think it really needs to focus on specific countries and internal debates. I mentioned Cool Britannia. One reason that campaign ran out of steam so quickly, culturally it was seen to include only the kind of younger generation, the creative elites, and it didn't seem to encompass the kind of the heritage and history of the United Kingdom. So a huge sector of British society felt excluded from that campaign.
We have time for a few more. If you don't mind, I take them together, and we'll begin with Adam, and then we have in the back. You can speak about them maybe. First in the front.
Sure, I'll keep it quick. My name is Adam Wojciechowicz. I work at the Korean Embassy here in Washington in the public affairs section. We also do some public diplomacy efforts in our office. But I wanted to ask you a specific question. My understanding is that Korea opened a Korea Center in Japan, I believe in Tokyo. And I'm wondering if you're familiar with it and if your evaluation of it, and more generally, if you think that those kind of places that are just dedicated to that public outreach, what role they play and how successful they can be, and maybe even in a larger network of these places, like Germany has like the Goethe Institute, which I think might be what you were referring to, semi-private, semi-public. So yeah, we may be going in that direction someday. So if you could share your thoughts on that, thank you.
Looks like you concluded that Korea's nation branding is not successful so far. Can you elaborate? I think you mentioned adaptation and standardization before, but can you suggest a way for Korea to succeed in nation branding in Europe? Specifically in Europe, that you mentioned that Korea's nation branding is not working in Europe. Is there any suggestions from you for Korean policymakers?
Okay, first of all, I don't say Korea's nation branding is not working. I don't say that. I just say it's too early to tell. The campaign only started earlier this year. And the measurement systems are not finally, that they haven't been refined yet, so it's difficult to make any definitive comments. And I really think it will be over the next 2-3 years, that's when we'll be able to say whether it's succeeding or not. I think it's on the right track, and I think it's good and positive the start has been made, but it is just a start. And it needs to continue in the future and produce its results. As regarding adapting to Europe, it depends what exactly Korean policymakers want to achieve there. If it's promoting culture, then K-pop is a waste of time, but there can be other forms of culture that can be very successful. I attended a couple of years ago the Engery Festival, which is the biggest arts festival in Europe, a Korean dance performance that was sold out in 3 weeks. And so when people were lining up to get in, there was Korean people there handing out maps of the soul. So I think that was a good thing to do. Whether or not that works, I don't know, because I haven't seen the results, if they did any measurements of the effectiveness. But I think that kind of thing could work. Regarding the Korea Center in Tokyo, if it's the one that I think you're talking about, I believe that's going to relocate. So at the moment they're in part of Tokyo, which is actually very near the university where I work. But I interviewed someone in the Korean Embassy in Tokyo, and he said they were going to relocate to Shinjuku, which is a part of Tokyo that has a huge number of Korean restaurants and Korean people living there. And the idea was to embed that centre more within the existing Korean community rather than, at the moment, it is kind of